Speaking of God, perfection, perfection. To err is human, to err is divine. So I think sometimes, but other times I struggle to find a clear line between the two. Anyway, God, if he or she did or didn't fill the Bible with hot air, check the etymology of inspire, didn't seem to stop it from becoming a red herring. Maybe the desire to be perfect, that is, other than what we are, human, is the true error. Maybe we know what we know, don't know what we don't know what we don't know, and don't know what we know, all at the same time. If to err is human, and a human weighs himself on another's ideal of balance and is no longer found wanting, is his or her perfection then an error? A low turn on the highway of humanity? Maybe I'm full of hot air. Maybe being human is our perfection, and divinity is fiction. Maybe our need to be perfect, wrought of our obsession with seeing humanity, error, humanity and error, error in humanity, is the true red herring, of which the Bible's and or our error are but two scales.
All right. Very good.
Well, that was kind of a thinky one, so this one is kind of a thinky one in a different way. Make incense from the flowers, dance naked in the light. Weave a blanket fringed with stars to cover you at night. Breathe kisses to the morning, braid songs into your hair, blow wishes on the feathered spores that surf the curls of air. And if a storm should hurt you, pour honey on the pain. Chase the clouds and catch them, then laugh and drink the rain.
Yeah! Beautiful. Very beautiful.
Piecing it together, with piecing spelled P-E-A-C-I-N-G. There is no line on my horizon, but there's no horizon on my line either. I'm still piecing together this puzzle that's never really been apart, except through my own narrow, too close perception. On an atomic level, with all these hard-to-see electrons spinning in apparent chaos and non-thought about me, it's easy to feel my whole you and I-verse is out of control. But from a broader perspective, it seems the electrons, protons, and neutrons are all in their proper places, making oxygen possible, which in turn combines with hydrogen to make water possible, which in turn makes me, who in turn makes these words fluid, or attempts to do it. I suppose any line I see on the horizon between Adam and Eve would be illusory, as it is between morning and eve, between birth celebration and death grieving, between coming, maybe coming again, and leaving, between unwittingly revealing the truth and intentionally deceiving, between you and me even, and what seems outside of us and not about us, and still somehow about us after all. I'm still piecing together this puzzle that's never really been apart, any more than the sea and sky on my horizon. Sea, part of sky after all, evaporating, forming and filling clouds, clouds and more clouds, dissipating and falling again as rain. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. No matter how many times I shampoo my mind, I find myself all wet. Like last night's dishes, soaking in the sink, waiting for me to get to washing them. Hot water turned cold and feeling greasier than it did last night, not making the dishes any easier, and here I am, trying to write a poem. Thinking maybe there's no line between this poem and those dishes in the sink of my life. Wondering who I am in in this analogy anyway. The silverware, the poem, the dish rag, the pots and pans, the water, the grease flowing from one to the other and back and eventually down the drain. Or this whole kitschy sink, drink and all. And even when I can no longer function, I wonder whether I will outlast this crumbling house about me, for it seems there is only a man-made line between sink and house, between functioning, not functioning, and simply being, between washing last night's dishes and this morning's poetry, washing last night's poetry and this morning's dirty ass, between this and that, those and these, utilizing my legs and utilizing my knees. Wiping this poetic plate with the last one's electrons, protons, and neutrons. Dirty, cleansing water and words. I fish for my favorite poetic cup, catching another I like as well, but never catching the horizon I hear tell is in there, out there, somewhere, sure as hell is unsure is I. Because the only hell imaginable is one we imagine. And I just can't choose between earth and sea and sky when as far as I can tell there's no line on the horizon between any or all of them or any and all of them and me. I'm willing to concede that as far as I see isn't necessarily all there is. So I keep my line in the dirty, cleansing dishwater of this you and I verse, fishing for clear categories, though there's been no horizon on my line yet, and as far as I can tell, there never will be. I've had my hands and hooked in this sink for 43 years so far. Rinse and repeat, and for what? Maybe because I'm a poet and the sink is my poetry. Or because I'm a human and the sink is my me. And maybe this is why I feel so often like I'm sinking. But if you look at the world upside down, and who's to say which side is up? An Ohioan's upside down is an Australian's right side up. And from the sun's perspective, there's no line between right side up and upside down. It's all the same. Because the sun's eyes aren't just on one side of his head. The eyes and his hands aren't just on a compass or clock like ours. So I feel like I'm sinking, but if I look at the world upside down, which from a broader perspective is no different than right side up, I see that as much as I'm sinking, I'm also rising. And so are you. There's no horizon on our line, and there's no line on our horizon. We're still piecing together this puzzle that's never really been apart.
Excellent.
All right. Since we're like in an introspective mood here, this one's an introspective poem. All right. What if I were not really me, but some imposter like a pod person from Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Or what if my body was taken over and controlled by some outer space parasite like in the Puppet Masters? Or what if there really were vampires and one bit me on the body someplace you couldn't see and put me under his spell and made me do his bidding? How would you know? Could you tell it wasn't me? What do you think would give me away? The way I refuse to eat asparagus, or the way I let my eyebrows grow unkempt, or the way I let your arm brush against mine without me reaching to take your hand? Do you think you would hear it in the timbre of my voice, or see it in the suddenly calm seas of my eyes? And would you miss the storm? Or would you laugh and brush away the doubts like gnats, thrust contradictions and omissions in a shoebox under the bed? Ignore the angina of grief constricting your chest, and accept the new, improved, and unaccountably submissive me the gentle mare, the poet who forgot how to write her poetry.
Oh.